Medija centar Čaglavica. Tehnička podrška za audio i video produkciju. Izrada i distribucija audio i TV priloga, intervjua, reklama, organizovanje preskonferencija, okruglih stolova, seminara i ostalih skupova. Zakup sale do 50 mesta. Mogućnost reklamiranja na sajtu Medija centra. Besplatno korišćenje interneta za novinare. www.mediacentar.org 064 29 26 612 044 55 70 05. Medija centar Čaglavica.
Pre svega, želim svima dobar dan i dobrodošli u Medija centar u Čaglavici. Današnju medijsku debatu sa temom pripreme za buduće civilno prisustvo međunarodne zajednice na Kosovu organizuje sama misija Evropske unije na Kosovu u saradnji sa produkcijom New Press, a uz podršku Kancelarije Sjedinjenih Američkih Država u Prištini. O pripremama za buduće prisustvo Evropske unije na Kosovu danas će govoriti naši gosti. Gospodin Jonas Johnson, šef pripremnog tima Međunarodne civilne kancelarije i specijalni predstavnik Evropske unije. Dobrodošli. Gospodin Roy Reeve, šef tima za planiranje Evropske unije i gospodin Khaldun Sino, šef odeljenja za političke, ekonomske i evropske integracije pri Kancelariji za vezu Evropske komisije na Kosovu. Na početku današnje debate naši panelisti će dati svoja uvodna izlaganja, a posle toga ćete moći da postavljate pitanja. Pre nego što dam reč gospodinu Johnsonu, htjela bih samo da vas pozovem da u 13 časova imamo još jednu konferenciju sa temom Status Kosova, pa bi nam bilo vrlo drago da budete prisutni. Znači, počet ćemo sa uvodnim izlaganjem gospodina Johnsona. Gospodine Johnson, izvolite.
Thank you very much. So I'm Jonas Johnson. I'm head of the preparation team for the International Civilian Office, as well as the Office of the EU Special Representative.
Good morning. My name is Roy Reeve, and I'm the head of the European Union planning team, which is making the preparations for the deployment of the rule of law mission to Kosovo.
Hello, my name is Khaldun Sino. I'm the head of the Political, Economic and European Integration section at the European Commission Office in Pristina, working to realize Kosovo's European aspirations.
We are very happy to be here together today, and I'm particularly happy to be here with my colleagues from EUPT and the European Commission to explain how we would like to see our role in Kosovo, how we would like to contribute to the situation in Kosovo, where, first of all, the priority is a safe and secure environment, the stability, the feeling of everybody that Kosovo is a place with socio-economic perspectives, that Kosovo has a concrete European perspective. We want to contribute as the European Union to all of these concerns that people might have in Kosovo today. We have therefore, from the European Union side, been very clear that we need a stable situation in the Western Balkans. We need a stable situation in Kosovo. We need now to find a way forward, a status settlement that means rule of law, protection of human rights, protection for the interests of all communities, of the cultural and religious heritage, notably the Serbian Orthodox Church. And we want to play a leading role of the European Union in order to achieve these objectives. That is why we are stepping up our engagement in Kosovo from the whole European Union family, from the European Union institutions. And as we are represented here today, the preparations for an international civilian office where the European Union will play a major role. The Office of the European Union Special Representative, an office which you can say is a political office, which will make, which is making the preparations for a status settlement, which is crucial in the short term, but also for the long-term perspective. The more operational office of the EUPT, and Roy will tell more about that, working on rule of law, working on security and stability and state building, and our Office of the European Commission working on concrete projects for institution building. All of us playing, again, a central role to make come true the European perspective. If I can say a bit more about the role of the preparation team that I'm representing, we have been working here for more than a year. We have been concentrating on what we see as key issues in a status settlement, namely decentralization, creation of specific municipalities, specific Kosovo Serb municipalities, the protection of the rights of the communities, of all communities in Kosovo, and in particular the non-majority communities, including the Kosovo Serbs. The protection of the cultural and religious heritage of Kosovo, notably of the Serbian Orthodox Church. For that, we are working very intensively to prepare key legislation in all of these areas. We are preparing, we are assisting in the preparations, as you might very well be aware of a constitution, a draft constitution, which will encompass all the provisions of the comprehensive package in relation to the areas that I have mentioned. And we are confident, we see as it is being developed, that indeed this constitution will be very advanced in areas of human rights, probably one of the most advanced constitutions of Europe in protection of human rights, in protection of the rights of the communities, in protection of the cultural and religious heritage, and that is for us a key priority, and we are, as we see work progressing, we are confident that this will indeed fulfill all the expectations that we had. We are working on specific legislation in the areas of decentralization, the creation, which will enable the creation of the new municipalities. We are working on the law for the special protective zones, which will make sure that the cultural and religious heritage is protected. Again, we are here in the short term to make this come true, to make sure that the protection of the non-majority of all communities of human rights is ensured. This is crucial also for the long term, for the European perspective that we want to see come true as soon as possible. But we need to do that together. We need to work together with all communities and with all institutions in order to make that happen. And for that, we need, and we are stepping up our work in the areas that I mentioned. Moreover, this European perspective, in that way, has to mean something concrete, also in the short term. And I think, with the help of my colleagues, we also want to discuss today and present today our ideas on how we see that this European perspective means something already today. It is not only something for the long term, but that Europe means something here for everybody also in the short term. Because this is what it's all about. This is part of Europe. This is the Western Balkans that the European Union has, to which the European Union has extended a European perspective. And Kosovo is part of that. This part of Europe is bound to be part of the European Union. And this is why we are here also today, in the short term, but also to stay. We are here to stay, to make sure that this European perspective comes true. We will be happy to discuss further, but I will ask Roy to continue.
Thank you very much, Jonas, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Jonas said, my part of the European operation is to prepare for the deployment in Kosovo of the biggest ever European rule of law mission which has been deployed. We are operational in the sense that we will be bringing to Kosovo about 1,800 specialist police, judges, prosecutors, customs experts to work with the local institutions in order to raise their skills, their capacity to the European levels. We will also retain some executive responsibilities so that if things appear to be going not according to European practice, we will have the authority to step in and to correct that. But it's very much in the same kind of perspective, in the same kind of ambition that Jonas has talked about. What we're trying to do is to bring in European examples to work closely together with all our partners in Kosovo, authorities, civil society, municipalities, so that we can improve the general standards of the way in which the rule of law is administered here, particularly in the police, the judiciary areas. Unlike Jonas's long-term vision, we see this mission as having only a short 2-3 year period in Kosovo. We're not here for the foreseeable future. Once standards are met, once people are content, happy with the way in which law and justice are administered in Kosovo, then the mission will begin to pull out. So we come already with an exit strategy as soon as we hit the ground. And as I say, it's very much an operationally targeted mission. It is a very large mission, and for that reason my planning team has been working here for the last 18 months or more in order to put the preparations in place. Again, we've been contributing to some of the legislative work which Jonas has talked about in order that there is a solid basis that we can work with and work on and develop the skills and capacities of the whole rule of law sector here to bring you up to standards which are more than adequate for European measures. So I'll leave it at that point.
Thank you. Just to add on what the European Commission does in Kosovo and what our aim and role and also dream is for Kosovo. For a start, just allow me one little historical lapse, if you want. The European Union started as 6 member states a long time ago. We now have 27. We have pledged and we have committed to making this even bigger. So the whole region, not only Kosovo, the whole Western Balkan region is a potential membership, are potential members for the European Union. The European Commission is working to make this vision true. One of the differences we have with our 2 colleagues from the planning teams is the European Commission will not have any executive role, executive powers. We have a different approach, and this is the division of labor I think we have. But this is important to retain. What do we intend to do in this whole enlargement context? We want to anchor Kosovo in a long-term European perspective, and this in turn should lead to economic development, political development, and social development. How do we do this? We do this by providing policy advice, by working with the institutions to develop the institutions, by telling them every year how much progress has been made or how much progress has not been made. This is for the rest of the region we do as well. This is a progress report we publish every year. And by continuously entering in dialogue with the institutions on their reforms across the board of the reform issues which we base on the Copenhagen criteria, which you may know, which are political criteria, economic development criteria, as well as the ability to assume the obligations that come with membership. Now, one of our major instruments to underpin such a dialogue and such a development is, of course, the financial assistance we have. Again, the whole region is the region that benefits most from EC assistance because it's a potential enlargement region, as I said before. We have allocated for the next 3 years, 2007 to 2010, at least 320 million euros to be given to Kosovo to meet various needs. We look at institution building. We look at the requirements that may come with the status settlement. We certainly look at economic development. And we're looking at creating a society where all communities have opportunities to live safely, but also in an economically sustainable environment. Now, one issue the Commission as well does, and this is very important, I think, for a small place like Kosovo, is we foster Kosovo's integration into the region. And I think economically, small places can only continue to exist if they're integrated in the region, by some of the examples I give to you, by promoting Kosovo's participation in the energy community, by promoting as well the CEFTA for Kosovo, by looking at transport issues, regional integration, and civil aviation. All those things I think are very important for Kosovo, and we try, and we have successfully done so, to integrate Kosovo where we can. This is in a nutshell what we do. The result of this is already and will be that all Kosovans, all communities will benefit from these opportunities that we try to create in Kosovo.
Hvala lepo. Izvolite sa pitanjima.
Gospodine Riv, da li mislite da je kosovsko društvo spremno za nezavisnost, to jest da nosi funkciju i ulogu jedne države? I ako mislite da jeste, šta će onda misija Evropske unije na Kosovu? Da li samo da glumi pravnog zastupnika kosovskim institucijama? I kako mislite da pošaljete misiju Evropske unije na Kosovo mimo odluke Saveta bezbednosti? I pitanje za gospodina Johnsona, smatrate li da kršite međunarodno pravo time što pomažete izgradnju ustava jedne teritorije koja još uvek nije država, bar je tako još uvek na papiru? I ovde u ovom članku koji smo dobili, izjava Javiera Solane govori da se Evropska unija nada da će se nastaviti proces sličan pregovaračkom timu. S obzirom da pregovarački tim zastupa nezavisnost, da li to znači da i Evropska unija je bliska tom stavu?
Gospodine Riv?
Yeah, let me take the first points that you addressed to me. As I said, the object, the aim of this rule of law mission is to improve the way in which justice, policing, customs protection is carried out on the ground here in Kosovo. For that, we need a two-way, in fact a three-way exchange between ourselves, our specialists, the local authorities and civil society to check whether the way in which the rule of law operates here meets adequate standards. And it's on that basis that we're coming in with all of these specialists, is to improve and raise the levels in order, as Jonas said, is to try and reach a European plateau, a European level, which will open up wider perspectives for this country. Now, I'm not entering into this issue of debates on questions of independence and everything else. Our intent is very much, as I say, to bring practical assistance, highly specialized assistance, in order to try and correct what are seen as wide perceptions of a lack of balance, a lack of adequacy in the way in which the rule of law is administered here. And it's that operational aspect that I'm engaged in and that I'm working on.
I think this is a very important question that you raised. we have been engaged, the European Union, together with our international partners for years, and particularly over the last months, trying to find a negotiated solution for Kosovo, for the status issue. We have seen a long process led by President Ahtisaari, the outcome of that, the hope, the expectation that by last summer we would have had a Security Council resolution endorsing the status package. Now that wasn't possible, and you know that the European Union, more than anyone else, supported the creation of the Troika, the establishment of the Troika, where the High Representative Solana appointed Ambassador Ischinger as his representative to try once again to find a negotiated solution between Belgrade and Pristina. And again, in these efforts, no stone was left unturned. All the possible solutions were explored in a very intense fashion, together with the US and the Russian colleagues. And unfortunately, these efforts did not lead to an agreement. The European Union is built on multilateralism. The European Union itself is multilateralism. It's created out of the need, out of the realization that the only way forward, the only sustainable way forward for Europe is through cooperation between nations. And we have come very far, and we have taken this very far within the European Union. This is the basis for us, and this is the basis, this is how we see international relations. And that's why we would have liked to see an agreement in the Security Council. But as you know, the situation is blocked. And in that situation, we still need status settlement. And we have been very clear from the European Union on that. Once again, when heads of state and government met in December. And they said that status quo is not sustainable. We need to find a status solution with full respect for communities' rights, human rights, rule of law, and all the issues that I mentioned earlier. In the situation where the Security Council is blocked, we have to look at our options. We have to find a way forward. And it is on that basis that we today continue together with our international partners, trying to see what could be the best possible outcome. Given that status quo is not sustainable, we need a solution. We need a solution in a limited time frame.
Gospodine Johnson, to još uvek ne znači da je Kosovo država. Vi kreirate ustav države. Znači, vi učestvujete u izradi jednog najvišeg pravnog akta jedne države, a Kosovo još uvek nije država. Kako vi znate da će Kosovo postati država, ili znate vi nešto što možda mi ne znamo? Znači, odakle vam informacija da će Kosovo biti država pa da učestvujete u kreiranju takvog ustava? I gospodine Riv, niste mi odgovorili da li je moguće slanje misije Evropske unije na Kosovo bez odluke Saveta bezbednosti?
We have been given by 27 member states unanimously a very clear mandate, which we've been working on for the last year, and that is to prepare for a status settlement with a clear reference to the comprehensive package, to prepare for a status settlement with an international presence. Part of these preparations is to assist in the drafting of a constitution in full respect of that settlement, in particular as to the rights of communities, as to the cultural and religious heritage, as to human rights. If we have a priority in these preparations, is to make sure that all of these provisions are respected. We have a mandate for that by the European Union. It's part of our preparations.
And just to come back, I mean, Jonas is absolutely right. That's the basis upon which we are here. and you talk about the rule of law mission building a state. The rule of law mission here is to assure equality for justice for everyone, and it's in that area that we're working, irrespective of ethnic background or anything else. What we're looking at is a system of rule of law, which is a common European principle, it's a common European value, whether you're a state or a part of a state or not. What we are doing, as I say, is targeting that area where there appear to be concerns, anxieties around. So that's the area we're tackling. And it's very much in full line with what Jonas has said. That is what our heads of state have decided. That is what we're here to do.
Imam pitanje za, verovatno bi trebalo Johnson to da odgovori. Govorite o sasvim izvesnom dolasku misije Evropske unije na Kosovo. Izvršili ste čak i raspoređivanje osoblja na severu Kosova. Da li imate plan da za slučaj nezavisnosti Kosova, sever Kosova vam uskrati poverenje i protera vas sa te teritorije? Kako planirate, kako mislite da na severu Kosova sprovedete vaše planove, konkretno o primjeni Ustava? Kako ćete tamo obučavati, koga ćete obučavati što se tiče policije kad tamo neće biti policije? Koga ćete obučavati od sudija kad tamo verovatno neće biti sudija prema stavu srpske većinske zajednice gore na severu Kosova? I konkretno pitanje, da li je moguće praviti ustav Kosova ako se još ne zna status?
To answer your second question, again, this is preparations, this is a draft constitution, and our preparations, as I've tried to explain, they are indeed linked to status. As to North Kosovo, we have one office. We have preparations for one civilian office, for one office of the EU special representatives, and in that function we also have an office in North Mitrovica. So it's not another office. We don't look at that differently than we look at the rest of Kosovo. The provisions that we are planning for, the preparations that we are making, includes also Northern Kosovo in the way that I've been trying to explain. The creation of a specific municipality, the protection of cultural, religious heritage and decentralization provisions and community rights, and all the rest. And I hope it's clear and understood that we have our role there in the short term. But again, I want to emphasize that we are also looking to the long term. And I understand that there are differing views on short-term developments within Kosovo and between the communities. But when I talk to people, what I hear, that if people are united on something, that is that they would like to be part of the European Union in the future. And we are here with such a hat. We are here preparing for the European Union Special Representative, and we are here as a family, as a European Union family, also with the 27 member states, most of them also represented here. And the same goes for North Kosovo, where both my colleagues also have people with us, working with us there, to look into socio-economic areas, to see how we can reinforce the perspectives, the socio-economic perspectives, to look into the possibilities to show that the European Union means something concrete also in the short term, means something concrete for everybody. This is what we are preparing for. This is why we have people in North Mitrovica. And this is why we are also even building up our presence there. So I think you should look at the broad spectrum of issues. You should look at our intentions. You should look at our concrete preparations. And I think you will see that there is a very positive and very constructive and very serious effort in very good faith being done there.
Sure. I mean, and if I can just sort of pick up on the specific references to police and judges. Again, from my point of view, for the future mission, we are not drawing any lines. We will be deploying our people throughout Kosovo. We have international police, and we will then have to see how the situation unrolls. I mean, we can all speculate about possible scenarios and how things might go in the short term or in the slightly longer term. But the intent here is to create a structure, a system for rule of law, which will encompass everyone.
Let me just add on to the north that in terms of how we work with Kosovo and we try to encourage socio-economic development, we treat the north like the rest of Kosovo, and we have allocated quite a significant amount of our assistance, both past and future, for the north of Kosovo. And I think it's important, this assistance we can only give effectively and efficiently in cooperation with the inhabitants of the north. I think this is very important for you to retain. We've done different things. Currently we have a grant project running for small and medium-sized enterprises. We've done municipal infrastructure projects. We are planning for further municipal development projects all over Kosovo, and that certainly includes the north. I think this message is very clear. We look for partners in the north just as much as in the south.
Vešvić. Do sada je već bilo reči ovde. Koleginica je pitala, naime, u 2 navrata ste pomenuli 2 reči, to je država i zemlja. Znate, na Kosovu već dugo vreme, od pada komunizma, postoji neka laufer politika. A vaša upotrebna terminologija i retorika se razlikuje od onoga što čujemo u Briselu, od gospodina Solane i gospodina Rena. Oni tu terminologiju koju vi ovde na terenu upotrebljavate ne upotrebljavaju. Da li to znači da vi pripremate javnost na nešto što mi ne znamo? Druga stvar, da li jedan diplomata, gospodine Jones, može da kaže da je sve iscrpljeno? U diplomatiji nikad nije sve iscrpljeno. Tako su mene učili u školi. Znate, apsolutno nikad nije sve iscrpljeno u razgovorima. Pa vas zato pitam, da li vaša retorika i upotrebna terminologija ovde, koja odgovara nekoj vrsti laufer politike, jeste priprema javnosti za nešto, dakle, za državu, za zemlju i tako dalje. Jer postoje, znate, postoje ustavi i za neke druge teritorije, oblasti koje ne nose nazive zemlja, država i tako dalje. Znači, na kakvom vi ustavu radite, da li on stvarno radite na državnom ustavu? Ako radite na državnom ustavu, uključite celo stanovništvo u to. To je vrlo bitna stvar. Dakle, pitanje glasi, otkud ta laufer retorika kod vas i šta ona treba da znači za stanovništvo na Kosovu i Metohiji?
Thank you very much. Again, a very important question. I am speaking on behalf of the European Union, and if you want to see black on white what the European Union has stated, I would like to refer you to the conclusions of the 14th of December from the highest level of the European Union, of the heads of state and government. And I don't think I say anything else today than what they said, namely that status quo is unsustainable, that we now need to move forward towards the status Kosovo settlement, which is essential for European and regional stability, and that such a settlement has to ensure democratic, multi-ethnic Kosovo committed to the rule of law and to the protection of minorities and cultural and religious heritage. This is part of what they have stated at the very highest level of the European Union, and this is what we are here to represent. We have a mandate, as I explained earlier, by 27 member states, which has been laid down in a legal act by the European Union in a joint action. And we are very happy also to provide you the reference to that joint action, which very explicitly tells us what we are supposed to do, namely to prepare for a status settlement with an international presence in which the European Union will play a leading role.
Faleminderit, koordinatore. Zoti Jönsson, kam dy pyetje. Një ndër lidhet me verjen e Kosovës. A keni plane për të integritetin territorial të Kosovës ta ruani si të tillë? Dhe e dyta, duhet serbët e Kosovës si pakicë dhe të gjitha pakicat tjera të friksohen nga pavarësia e Kosovës. Faleminderit.
Well, I think we can repeat what we've been saying. The three of us, the planning, the preparations that we are doing is for one Kosovo. We do not make a distinction between the different parts of Kosovo. That's why we have our office there. That's the preparations that we are doing. And obviously we work very closely together with our other international partners, which we haven't particularly mentioned today, but with our other partners of the international community, notably the military presence, as well as the United Nations, which is here. So that's the short answer.
Po për pakicën serbe në Kosova, do të ketë frikë nga pavarësia e Kosovës ajo? Se duket që ka frikë në mesin e tyre.
As I tried to say in the beginning, I think it's very important, and perhaps more important than ever, that everybody today here feels safe and secure, and that's what I'm saying. That's why we are working together with our international partners and also with the KFOR presence here. That in the immediate time, in the immediate times, everybody should feel safe and secure. Everybody should feel that there are clear socio-economic perspectives here, and everybody should feel that there is a clear European perspective. Of course, that is something for the future, but everything interrelates, and everything should be clear today, and that's why we are here as well, to contribute to the feeling of safety, to contribute to the feeling that there are clear perspectives here, to contribute to the understanding that the European Union is here to stay, and that ultimately you will be part of the European Union, and that we are embarking on that road, which no doubt will be long and difficult, but we are at the beginning, and that everything we will do now in the short term will serve that purpose, but also that the European Union has to mean something in the short term. And for all of these reasons, the European Union has decided to step up its involvement in engagement in Kosovo. For that reasons, I would say that most of Europe is today very much looking to Kosovo with great attention, with some concern as well, but more than anything else, with a clear commitment, with a clear sense of responsibility, with a clear will of making a tangible contribution that is felt here by everybody.
Jasmina Stojković. Trenutno na Kosmetu je prisutna misija Ujedinjenih nacija. Pretpostavljam da ne planirate da na Kosmetu buduće, prema vašim planovima, kada bude sazrelo vreme za dolazak Evropske unije, da postoje dve paralelne misije. Na koji način mislite da će doći do povlačenja misije Ujedinjenih nacija bez odgovarajuće rezolucije i da li do toga može doći ukoliko, kao što ste već rekli, je Savet bezbednosti blokiran? Rad Saveta bezbednosti je blokiran. Kako u toj situaciji očekivati donošenje rezolucije o povlačenju misije Ujedinjenih nacija čak i pod uslovom da vi donesete odluku o dolasku misije Evropske unije bez dozvole Saveta bezbednosti. Na koji način, praktično mislim, planirate da tako nešto realizujete ovde na Kosovu i Metohiji? Dakle, smenu ove dve misije ili možda je u planu postojanje paralelnih misija i čemu bi to vodilo?
As I've been trying to explain today is our mandate and what the European Union has made clear, and I don't want to speculate in what's going to happen. What I can add is that we've noted that the Secretary General of the United Nations has taken note of the intentions that the heads of state and government expressed in December on Kosovo, and that he also said in that it's important the increased engagement of the European institutions for Kosovo. We are in close cooperation with all our international partners, and we have excellent cooperation with UNMIC and the SRSG. So we will make sure that there is an orderly and stable way forward, and that there will be in the future, and that's of course what we are planning for, a significant international presence, European presence here in Kosovo.
Pa recite mi, molim vas, jel planirate paralelno prisustvo dve misije na Kosovu i Metohiji ili očekujete donošenje rezolucije o povlačenju misije UN-a i dolazak misije Evropske unije?
What I can speak for here today are the intentions of the European Union. With all respect, I will not speak for the United Nations. You will have to respect that they will have to make their own decisions, the Secretary General, as well as the members of the United Nations. So I don't want to go in. I don't want to speculate about that. I can just say that we have very close consultations and cooperation with them to make sure that we will have an orderly way forward.
Matt Robinson from Reuters. Mr. Jonsson, when do you expect the European Union to give the official green light for the European mission in Kosovo? Could it come before February 18th meeting of EU foreign ministers? And the second question goes back slightly to the previous question. Under 1244, which will remain in place, presumably some kind of UN office will remain in Kosovo with certain responsibilities. How will the ICO function in coordination with that office?
I expect that for our mission there will be a joint action for the European Union Special Representative. I think Roy will have to speak for the future rule of law mission, and all of that is under preparation. Again, as for the future relations with the United Nations, I don't want to speculate. Again, we work very closely with them. We have excellent relations. We see I see the SRSG regularly to make forward that there will be no gaps, no misunderstandings, and a very orderly way forward. Perhaps Roy would like to say something.
No, I mean, just a small addition. As with the ICO office, the rule of law mission also requires a joint action being taken by the Council. I would assume that the two would be taken in parallel, since we're two sides of one coin, as it were, that the two of us need to be here at the same time. So, we are now awaiting the decision of our political lords and masters on this as to when they're going to trigger us. Sure. I mean, it could come in March, it could come in April. I mean, I honestly, it would depend upon developments on the ground as to when the political decision is taken by the member states to sign off on the joint actions and launch the missions.
Pitanje ipak još jedno za vas, gospodine Johnson. Da li ste zabrinuti kao političar, kao diplomata, sopstvenom izjavom do danas je niko nije izgovorio bez vi, da Evropska unija stvara državne institucije na Kosovu, citiram vas, ukoliko je dobar bio prevod, a verujem da jeste, da već pripremate ustav, to do sada još niko nije rekao bez vi, jer smo čuli od predstavnika privremenih kosovskih institucija, iz usta premijera Kosova, ali od međunarodnih zvaničnika nismo. I da li vi na taj način sebi prisvajate pravo da unapred iznosite stav o budućem statusu Kosova? Da li se plašite reakcije Beograda na vašu izjavu današnju? I da li će to biti samo još jedan povod premijeru Srbije Vojislavu Koštunici da kaže Evropska unija nije dobrodošla na Kosovo i neće prihvatiti po cenu i odbijanja potpisivanja sporazuma o pridruživanju?
I hope I got your question correctly. I think I've been speaking about institution building, and this is very much what the European Commission is involved in. I have been explaining the preparations that we are doing, the involvement that we have in order to prepare for a draft constitution and for the key legislation, which will ensure the protection of the minority communities, of the culture and religious heritage, and human rights. This is what we are talking about. I'm not here to comment on developments or potential developments in Belgrade. I think you saw, and I think that's very important, that the European Union reached out with a very generous, very inventive political package, political agreement when they met at their last meeting, the European foreign ministers, and you can see all the details about that. And we are very keen to see, as I said, this whole region, the Western Balkans, integrated in the European Union. This is our dream, if I may use the word of Khaldun. This is our hope, that we are embarking now on a road that will lead this whole region ultimately to be part of the European Union.
Ja se izvinjam, gospodine Johnson, još jedno pitanje imam. Human Rights je juče objavio, između ostalog, da je rešavanje konačnog statusa Kosova bacilo u senku mračno stanje ljudskih prava, na Kosovu. To je u njihovom izveštaju, jel? Kad je u pitanju Kosovo. Da li vi stvarno verujete da će to na čemu vi radite, paragrafi i ta retorika zaštititi prava, kako vi kažete, manjina? Znate, na Kosovu se upotrebljava jedna druga reč za to, a to je zajednica. Upravo da se ne bi neko ko je bio konstitutivan osjećao kao neka manjina. Manjina jest u fizičkom smislu, znate, ali u jednom drugom smislu to je zajednica, isto kao i 3., 4., 5. i 10. i 24. zajednica na Kosovu i Metohiji. Da li vi stvarno mislite da to, kao u Evropi, čime se vi trenutno bavite i što pripremate, može da zaštiti ili trebaju nekakvi drugi aparati da bi zaštitili ta prava tih ljudi na Kosovu i, kako vi kažete, manjina, ali i većine? Jer ugroženi su, znate, na Kosovu svi.
Again, I'm not sure what the exact question was, perhaps, but again, if we have a priority in our work here, is to ensure that Kosovo will be a place for everybody. So it goes for the individual rights, the individual human rights, but also community rights. This is the notion that we are working on. So that means specific provisions for the communities, including the Kosovo Serbs, meaning the creation of specific municipalities, the possibility of the protection of languages, the use of languages, the possibility of specific schools, specific curricula, specific relations between the Kosovo Serb municipalities and Belgrade, etc. I know that the comprehensive package has often been rejected as such with the label, but I can really recommend to look into the specific provisions in there, because what we are working on and what we are preparing for is the very concrete provisions in there that means very specific protection for the rights of communities, not only for individuals, also for all individuals, but also for the communities, and again for the cultural and religious heritage, including and perhaps notably the Serbian Orthodox Church. So let's discuss about the concrete issues and not about the labels here. And yes, I think these provisions are very encouraging, but of course they have to be put into practice, and that can only be done in cooperation with the communities that are involved. And that's why also our work over these months and more than a year has been to reach out to the communities, have a dialogue with them, and see how we can make this come true.
Ako nema više pitanja, ima?
Ja bih još jednom ovako, mada ne očekujem iskreno rečeno odgovor, jer ne stičem utisak da ste nam odgovorili na većinu pitanja koje su vam bila postavljena, uglavnom da je to i svrha diplomatije. Reći, a ne kazati ništa. Da li zaista smatrate da je Evropska unija toliko superiorna da kako je gospodin Riv rekao, za godinu do 2 dana, koliko je u planu da emisija bude na ovim prostorima, da ispuni standarde i stvori uslove za povlačenje misije? Da za godinu do 2 uradite ono što misija koja je trenutno prisutna nije uspela za 8 godina. Na koji način mislite da tako brzo ostvarite vladavinu prava koja nije ostvarena svih ovih godina? Ili je u pitanju nešto drugo? Ja moram samo da čujem i od vas da li je i dalje u opticaju plan da se nakon proglašenja nezavisnosti iz Prištine uputi zahtev Evropskoj uniji za dolazak i da to bude taj signal i u stvari taj moment dolaska misije na ovim prostorima, i da je u tom slučaju po tim vašim planiranjima koje sprovodite godina do 2 dana dovoljna da nakon proglašenja na ovim prostorima više ne bude Srba i potrebe za postojanje bilo kakve misije. Hvala.
I think I will leave most of this to Roy to respond. Let me just say that I think it's very important always to look at because there is so much speculation, and we've been going through times with a lot of speculations. I think it's very important to look at what has actually been decided by the European Union. We take decisions at 27. We have to come to an agreement at 27 to take decisions, and that's why I'm trying to explain what have we actually said, what have we actually agreed as a European Union. What I'm saying, I'm sure is very interesting, but I think what we all, and what I hope you would be most interested in, is what has the European Union actually agreed on, and this is what I've been trying to explain here today. Roy.
Sure. I use the sort of time frame of 2 to 3 years to say that there are areas, there are parts of our operations in the rule of law where we could well run down and pull out. There may be other areas where there will be a continuing need, but we're not starting from ground zero. You said over the last 8 or 9 years, work has already been done. So we have a basis upon which we can pick up and take it forward. Apart from doing the capacity building in the police and the justice areas, we will also have a mentoring role and a monitoring role, which means we'll be looking very carefully at the way in which the system is operating here on the ground in terms of equal treatment for all. If there are issues there, then that's where we propose to intervene and to correct those. But we will, as fast as we can, begin to wind down in specific areas where there is sufficient levels of standards and expertise to enable us to say, fine, that's no longer an issue, we can pull our specialist teams out. We will continue to monitor, but the size of the mission will shrink. In my view, over the course of 2 to 3 years. There will still be something left if there is a need to continue, but our aim is not to have a permanent, unending presence here in Kosovo, but to get out when we think the job is done.
Can I just add to this? I think you have to see two aspects for this. There's the EUPT, SDP aspect of this with a short to medium-term range.
Sure.
However, there's a long-term aspect to this as well. Look at the countries that joined in 2004. It took them quite a long time, 15 years, to be ready to join union. In the case of the most recent countries that joined, it took them almost 20 years. What have we done in those 20 years? We've engaged in them with a regular dialogue and picking up from what has been done already, reformed the judiciary, reformed the legal system, helped develop police, etc. So this is very much a long-term effort. No one is suggesting that this is perfect in Kosovo at the moment, but there are emergency measures which we need to maintain, and there's certainly long-term effort and long-term support which we will continue to give and to monitor and to report on. So I think this is a continuous development and evolution.
Ja vas molim, ni Javier Solana, ni Oli Rendo danas, ni Koštunica, ni generalni sekretar Ujedinjenih nacija, niko od njih do danas nije rekao da je sednica Saveta Evrope od 27. decembra ta sednica na kojoj je doneta odluka o slanju misije Evropske unije na Kosovu. Po ovome što vi govorite i uporno kažete šta je odlučeno 27. decembra, ispada da je ta odluka već doneta. Ako vi već počinjete da radite i već ste sebi dali za pravo da taj period od 27. decembra ograničavate na 2 do 3 godine, da li je uopšte potrebna više odluka Saveta bezbednosti, da li je uopšte potrebna odluka Evropske unije, da li je potreban potpis između Beograda i Evropske unije o slanju misije na Kosovu? Ako vi uporno tvrdite da je 27. decembra ta odluka doneta. I molim vas, kažite mi, gospodine Roy, šta je to Evropska unija, šta je to misija Ujedinjenih nacija na Kosovu radila u proteklih 9 godina? Ako vi sve to planirate da stornirate i da nove zakone u oblasti zaštite ljudskih prava, u oblasti zaštite kulturne baštine, u oblasti, ne znam, carine, primene, očuvanja javnog reda i mira, bit ću konkretan, treba da tek usvojite. Šta ste to do sada radili? A bila je misija Evropske unije i na Kosovu i do sada, i UNMIK je bio tu, i KFOR je bio tu, i svi su bili.
I've tried to explain what the heads of state and government agreed on at 27 on the 14th of December. They agreed to delegate to the foreign ministers to take the decisions. This is how the European Union works. It is not one person deciding, it is 27 ministers, 27 heads of state and government agreeing unanimously on what to do, and that concerns both policy and concrete operational decisions. So in December you had a clear policy direction given by 27 member states, and they have delegated to the foreign ministers to take the operational decisions. That's how it is.
Ovim je medijska
The second part, yeah. I'll get back. I didn't say that nothing had been done. The European rule of law mission is new. We're coming, when we come, to step onto ground which has already been worked through by UNMIK, by KFOR and others, international partners of ours, OSCE, bilateral work in developing the rule of law. We're going to take it where it now stands, and if we can, lift it up to higher standards by bringing in specialist people to work with their opposite numbers here in Kosovo, whether it's police, whether it's judges, whether it's prosecutors. So it's taking it from where we now currently stand and bringing it forward to higher levels. That's what we're here for.
Hvala lepo. Ovim je medijska debata završena. Ja se najtoplije zahvaljujem predstavnicima Evropske unije i Evropske komisije što su odabrali Medija centar da iznesu svoje planove o pripremi buduće misije Evropske unije i zahvaljujem se Kancelariji Sjedinjenih Američkih Država što je omogućila ovu promociju. Hvala lepo.